And we are back.
And we're back.
We are
We
back.
are we're I I want to say back in black again, but like we've done
We're
that joke to
going to
death.
wear that joke out real quick.
We've
Oh my
already
goodness.
worn that joke out and we've said it twice.
So, we are doing a very, very late night podcast here.
Yeah. How late is it?
Geez, it is after midnight.
It's after midnight for you.
Yeah, well, I wanted to do this earlier in the day, but
I'm a busy person, what can I say?
yeah, you were playing Dungeons and Dragons.
I was.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So I was playing Dungeons and Dragons and then after I came back, we played some Apex, and then we played we played some Deep Rock, and then we played some
Yeah.
Apex, and then we played some Helldivers.
It's a busy evening.
Yeah,
Busy
and
evening.
I'm still going strong. I'm still you know what? And we could have recorded this early in the morning,
Right.
but I have a feeling that the general awakeness level would be about the same.
Probably.
But it would just be flipped because I would be the one who's super sleepy and Stick would be the one who's wide awake.
Yeah, so if I sound a little tired, that's why.
She's tired.
It is
Yep.
ridiculously late, but that's okay. I wanted to kind of start a podcast style thing where we're going to, on Sundays, potentially Sundays right now, upload just a podcast instead of our normal gameplay stuff.
Is that what this is? This is a podcast. You told me it was an intervention for my rampant alcoholism.
Yeah, exactly. Didn't you know?
We're gonna stream this?
So
I guess not stream, but we're gonna upload this.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, the idea is that sometimes we just want to talk about things that don't necessarily fit in playing a game. So I don't know.
No, we'll do a couple of these and have fun with it.
Yeah, we'll see how it works out. If we enjoy this and you guys enjoy this, we'll do more of this. The idea is we're gonna try to do about 40 minutes of just rambling about topics that we want to talk about. Sometimes related to things that we've gamed on or just.
That reminds me. Are we gonna have background noise, like background music? Not background noise, but background music, because I know we made the joke about the ukuleles.
Yeah.
No, we need some background music because, I just have a feeling. I don't know. Can you edit?
I could
later?
find something. Yeah.
Find
audio
nice
jungle. I can audio jungle something.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just kind of a way for us to chit chat. So this week, since we've talked about it so much, I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons.
Da da da.
Da, da, da. Yeah, we're both kind of obsessed about D&D.
Just a little bit.
For those uninitiated, Dungeons and Dragons is a tabletop role-playing simulator RPG thing. If you've played Baldur's Gate 3, which I'm sure more nerdy people have.
Yeah, at least 12% of the population has.
Probably. D&D plays a lot like that, but without all of the fanfare and the visuals.
It's Baldur's Gate, but worse.
It's Baldur's Gate, but in the mind. In the mind.
It doesn't all have to be.
Doesn't have to be, no. We use like maps and things.
Yeah, I was gonna say the general idea is, you guys are in a medieval fantasy world. You and your friends make characters that may or may not be reflections of you as people. I mean, I guess they don't have to be, but a lot of people like base.
A lot of people will make themselves
a little bit at least off of themselves. So yeah, you make. You've got some different classes to pick from. A lot of them fall into, I guess, what you would consider the video game roles of
the video game tropes.
Tank, healer, damage dealer, and you got classes that use magic and classes that don't, and classes that kind of hybridize. But you make all these characters. You keep track of their statistics and their abilities on character sheets. And then when it comes time to play the game, you have somebody called a dungeon master who essentially runs the game. They do all the storytelling, world building, and play all the characters that aren't players.
Right.
I mean, I guess
it's basically like the Mind Flayer in Baldur's Gate 3 that just talks to you all the time.
Is she a Mind Flayer?
Was it a Mind Flayer? What was the thing? Like the little slug thing that you're infected with at the beginning?
I don't think so. The slug doesn't talk to you.
No, I thought that was the narrator.
I mean, okay.
I have
full
not played
transparency,
Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, I've played it. I haven't beat the game. If that's true.
How many times have you actually like started a game on that thing?
Way too many.
You haven't beaten it? What?
Maybe that can be a topic for another another podcast. We just talk about Baldur's Gate. I don't think that the slug is narrating. If so, that's a very very eloquently spoken slug.
Yeah.
But no, you have the game master, or the dungeon master rather, who runs the game. They'll present the players with a series of challenges, and these can be literally anything at all that you can succeed or fail at. So it can be something as simple as petting a cat and making an animal handling check, or jumping over a pit and making an athletics check, or striking a dragon and dealing massive damage to its weak spot. Yeah, or failing to do so. The way that successes and failures are demonstrated, the dungeon master comes up with, or is given by whatever material they're running, a number called a difficulty class. So, for example,
you're going deep in the rabbit hole.
Okay. Difficulty class, you roll a 20-sided dice, you add or subtract your bonus or penalty, and if you succeed, then you succeed. The dungeon master tells you how, and if you fail, then you fail. I didn't know how in-depth you wanted this.
No, that's fine. No, that's fine. A lot of it, though, comes down to cool factor.
Sure. Yeah.
You ever played the Rule of Cool? The Rule of Cool is awesome. Basically, the cooler you make your action, the more likely you will be to succeed it.
We're gonna need multiple topics if you want to tell. If you want me to tell you all about the Rule of Cool stories that we've done, we're gonna need multiple podcasts.
Yeah.
But so what was your first experience with Dungeons and Dragons? And by the way, when we're talking about this, for any of you Turbo nerds in the audience, including myself, we're talking about 5th edition mostly. I guess 3.5
edition that matters. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
3.5e is about as far back as I'll go. I never played 2 or 1, or 4 for that matter. But I did play a little bit of 3.5. But we're mostly talking about 5th edition because it's the current one.
Yeah.
Check the upload date. So yes.
Pretty much.
Well, somebody watches this 200 years in the future and like, dude, we're on 75th edition. What are they talking about?
Jeez, that would be insanity.
So yeah, tell me what was your first experience with Dungeons and Dragons?
Yeah, so actually my first D&D wasn't even like a proper D&D. It was entirely homebrew. Homebrew being unofficial, like just cooked up in a lab by your friends kind of content. Basically I was at work and I was just trying to like fit in with some of the coworkers. And I heard a couple people talking about D&D, and I was like, oh, I've never played that, but I've always wanted to. Can I join you guys? And they were like, sure, yeah, we'll make you a character. So I had no hand in making my own character, even. I had no idea what was going on. And it was a Power Rangers. It was Power Rangers.
They used the 5th edition system, but it wasn't medieval fantasy at all.
Yeah, it doesn't. Well, so that's the thing, is that it doesn't have to be medieval fantasy. Yeah, I've heard of people doing. Yeah, it's the most common, but like people can do aliens. Like they can literally reenact aliens if they wanted to.
Do some science fiction, some Star Trek, some Wild West stuff.
Yeah, you can do pretty much anything. You could become a detective and help out Data with detective stuff in the holodeck. Oh, Jesus.
It's a bit of a... All right.
Ooh. Next Generation. That was a fun time.
You were dating yourself horribly right now.
Listen, I loved watching those movies with my dad, okay? They were awesome. So anyways, as far as the campaign goes, though, so I show up, and I have no idea what I'm doing. It's like me and 4 other people, and then the DM, or the Dungeon Master. And they start off, and I'm joining in completely fresh. I have no clue how to do anything. I don't even have a character sheet in front of me.
As we all do.
Like, I was literally just off the cuff. And the very first interaction, so they set me up to be the pseudo villain of the series.
I see.
The party's doing their thing, and then they introduce my character. And the only thing that I did when they said, "What are you gonna do?" Like, they didn't prompt me anything like that. It was just like they looked at me and I said, "Yeah." That was it. I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
I just like nodded my head, and he's like, "You can do things." I'm like, wait, what? You can do things?
I'm gonna do the thing.
And so the very first thing that I did, if I remember right, they were climbing up some sort of like spiral staircase, and I happened to open the giant metal doors at the top of the staircase, and one of the people like looks in, and I pop out of the doorway, and I say, "What's up, fuckers?" And I just falcon kick the dude down the stairs.
Your first act in Dungeons and Dragons was to kick someone down.
My first action ever was to just gut kick someone down a flight of stairs.
Did you go all the way down?
I think so. Honestly, I don't remember much else beyond that in the campaign because that was just so hilarious. And I didn't stick around for very long because that was a really messy campaign. And plus, I did not know anything about Power Rangers, so...
And it was like... You weren't using what's it
official
called?
Material or anything like that.
Either, yeah.
Yeah. It was really just off the cuff. I don't even think I was rolling dice correctly. I was calculating weird numbers, and it made no sense to me at the time. Like, looking back, I was an idiot. I was an idiot with a piece of paper.
I still think it doesn't really matter the first, like, your first interaction or your first introduction doesn't terribly matter because you're just learning how to play the game.
Yeah.
And I look back on my first interaction with Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition with a healthy amount of cringe, but also like
I think that's everybody.
Yeah. I don't know. My first experience. So I had already previously some experience with tabletop games in general. I played Starfinder was my first tabletop RPG, which is like space.
It's like a space one, yeah.
It's Pathfinder in space. So Pathfinder, but with a fresh coat of paint that made laser rifles and whatnot.
Yeah, Pathfinder being kind of a branch of D&D that works with different mechanics. So
it's a completely different company. Oh boy.
Well, it's a different company, but it's still the same general idea of roleplay.
Sure. But no, my first actual Dungeons and Dragons experience, and actually I had to go back in my mind 3 more times because I thought, oh, it was with this group, but then it was actually with 2 other groups before then. My very, very, very first. So I was playing a cleric, a halfling cleric, and I think we started off at a fairly decent level. I think we were like level 8 or something.
Wow. That's actually pretty high for just starting out.
Yeah, for your first time. They walked me through, the people that I was playing with were some pretty close friends. And so they walked me through character creation, helped me pick out my spells, my domain. I went Tempest domain because I thought that sounded cool.
Ooh, the
wind.
I
was playing a little, the wind,
the windy
and the
boy.
Rain. So I was playing a very short halfling cleric in some nice armor and with a rapier. And the first thing that my character received, I suppose, as soon as he showed up to the party and was introduced to everybody, the Minotaur, who was a barbarian character, did not like him. He just did not like him at all. He was like, "Hey, I don't like you," and me not knowing exactly what it is that I'm doing, essentially just challenges him to a one-on-one duel.
I'm sure that just went wonderfully.
So, cleric versus barbarian. And
not the worst fight in the world, but
I used my highest level spell slot to cast Thunderwave point blank at him, and then used my channel divinity to essentially one-shot him.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, and again, because I mean, on the one hand, I had no concept of resource management at all.
Yeah.
Like I was just like, hey, this is the strongest attack that I can manage, so here we go. And on the other hand, I didn't know that he wasn't resistant to thunder damage, so it one-shot him. to the point where he was left unconscious, and then I healed him as a cherry on top.
So, wow, you basically took and found the biggest guy in the yard and beat him up.
Yeah. Well, he found me. He was the aggressor. I lashed back. But from then on, this Minotaur character and my character were best buds. After that rocky patch, they became best buds. And because he was so large, the Minotaur character was, and my character was so small, he would chuck me as a grenade.
The good old...
Pick me up, throw me into a crowd of goblins, and then I cast Thunderwave and essentially grenade myself.
Yeah,
that
makes sense.
Common tactic. That group didn't stay together very long because I was still in the army at the time, and we deployed to Korea. Half the group deployed to Korea, and the other half stayed behind. So.
Oh yeah. Did you try and do like over voice chat at all, or?
Yes and no. Oh man, I don't really want to get into that because that's a whole another long story in and of itself. Like, I guess the TLDR answer would be we tried to, it didn't work.
Yeah, that's fair. It is tough to go from in-person into a digital...
Yes, because in person you have, usually paper character sheets. Pencils, you have maybe, we used a whiteboard for our first map. We had a whiteboard laid down on a table and drew it on it with markers.
That's not too bad.
Yeah, you can also do stuff like, there are actual maps that you can get, or you can.
People will put like a TV on a table and make that their map.
Yeah. I've done everything from detailed environmental maps to salt and pepper shakers and
that's the best.
Coins is my favorite. You take a penny, you take a quarter. These are your characters. Here's some graph paper for squares. Yeah, and go nuts.
Whatever works. It is kind of nice though, having like an actual representation of your characters and such, rather than just like a few little lines drawn on a piece of paper. I don't know.
As far as like representing your character.
Yeah, it gets you a little bit more into the not the realism, but like the what would you call it? Like the fantasy of it. Like it makes it a little bit more real that's your character rather than seeing a penny. And this is representative of your character.
I mean, on the one hand, I agree. But on the other hand, the thing that makes the character come to life the most for me is when you do a voice.
That's true. That is true.
And accents are hard. Stick can back me up here. My accents are terrible.
You have like two of them.
Yeah,
and
that I can do, and they're both horrible.
Yeah, they're pretty bad.
But you're right. But doing characters because on the one hand, it automatically cues in everyone as to, hey, this is
my character
talking versus me talking, right? Because I have to talk to other people, pass the chips, or can you go to, like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom and stuff like that.
Right.
And then the character speaking in universe.
Right. Yeah.
So one of my favorite characters had a pretty notable accent that I'm not gonna attempt now, but she was incredibly notable for her accent, and everyone thought that she sounded a little bit funny, and I ended up playing that character for 6 years.
Dang.
So, D&D campaigns can be as short or as long as you want.
Yeah, I mean, you can have one start and end in one 4-hour session.
It's called a one shot.
Yeah, one shot. Or you can have them go on for absolutely years.
I think 6 years might be a little bit long.
Maybe a little. I mean,
our campaign. Because we have a campaign running currently.
Yeah.
And Stick and I are both DMs for it. Stick is the main DM, but I have subbed in
for about 4 or 5 sessions now. Maybe a little longer than that.
Definitely more than. Oh, it's way more. It's way more than that. Blonde is keeping count. So not counting the first 4 sessions that I did at the start of the campaign.
We're on 7 now, I think.
We are on number 9.
Oh, Jesus.
Yep, and so I've actually DM'd more sessions in this campaign than you have now, because you've DM'd 12 and I've DM'd 13.
Wow. So the turntables.
Catch up. But no, Stick is the main DM. I'm just borrowing the spotlight from him right now because burnout is a thing that happens.
It does. Yeah, and it's a lot of mental work to be a DM. Because versus like you controlling one single character as a player, right? You control their actions, and you only have to focus on what your character is doing. Obviously, you want to pay attention to the rest of the world, but you don't have to like consciously make up stuff.
That's the blessing and curse of playing a DM.
Yeah.
Because on the one hand, you are always engaged with what's going on,
right?
Because you are
the storyteller. Yeah.
Yeah, you are the trees, you are the ground, you are the
creatures that you come into contact with.
Yeah, you are the townspeople, you are the strange light.
The wind beneath my wings.
I'm saying like setting up stuff for your characters to find. You know, you
have to always be on.
It's Versus if you're playing a character, which again is probably what most people start with, but you sometimes will not have the DM's attention.
Correct.
Because he's dealing with someone else, he's talking to someone else, maybe the rogue snuck off and is hogging the entire
spotlight,
because he's by himself, and so no one else.
It gives you a chance for your brain to take a break and kind of focus on something else. Yeah, the DM has to always be on. They have to be thinking of things on the spot, because it's not a railroaded game. Like your party, it can if you want it to be, but the best campaigns are ones where if your party decides to do something, you roll with the punches. Within reason.
There's a lot of punches.
Yeah.
I can't think of a good example off the top of my head here. At least not from.
I can think of a very good example with Blonde's character near the beginning of our campaign, and a certain guy going into a bear trap. Do you remember that?
Do you want to regale them with stories about our current campaign, or do we not want to?
Sure. So, Blonde is playing a character called Victoria.
Hold on. For those of you new to our channel, hi.
Hi.
This is Stick and Wulfie, and if you don't know who Blonde is, she's one of our friends who owns the Discord server where everything takes place.
Correct.
And she's really chill.
Yep, she's pretty chill.
All right, let's go ahead.
Anyways, so Blonde plays a character named Victoria, who is what is she, a hunter? What class did she pick exactly?
She's a ranger. I don't remember her subclass. I have her character sheet. I'll read this for you.
Yeah. But anyways, so she's a ranger, and basically we had found and cornered. What was it that we were doing in the initial fight? I can't remember much about the initial fight.
No, so the party got ambushed.
Right, we got ambushed by people disguised as town guards.
She's a monster slayer, by the way.
Monster slayer, that's what it was. Yeah. So we got ambushed by people that were disguised as the town guards, and they basically were trying to rob us or kill us or something like that.
I think they'd been hired to take you guys out of action.
Yeah. So our party, were fighting them in an alley. And my character, Weston, decided to have a magic surge at random, turn blue and bigger, and launch a fireball at a house, and we had to douse it.
Control when you have magic surges.
No, but at the same time, it was hilarious because I rolled a 1 or a 2 on that. So it was just like it turned 1 magic surge into like 5. It was awful. It was great.
Point being.
Anyways. So we ended up fighting these guys in the alley, and then we took one as a prisoner. So we left one alive, and we took him as prisoner into the local tavern.
Yeah, where they were staying for the night.
Yeah, and Blonde Victoria
back into the bathroom.
Took the character into the bathroom with the hostage, along with kind of a joke character, Yom Lickballs.
Oh, I forgot his name. He wasn't. I don't think he was there for that one.
He wasn't there, but he was nearby and heard all the
Mr.
commotion. Yom. Yeah. So it was, what was it? It was Victoria, me, and I don't remember who the third one was. Was it Ray Sharth was there? Yeah. So after a little while,
you are nailing this story.
I know, I'm doing great. That was like a year and a half ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
It was a while.
Continue, please.
So they were interrogating, and found out some information about some other stuff that was going on. And meanwhile, the interrogation process was going on. So Victoria pushed the character into a stall, and then put a bear trap down on the ground right in front of him, as a way to, like, don't move or this will destroy you. After the interrogation was finished, Victoria proceeded to taunt him one more time and then push his head into the bear trap.
Into the armed jaws of the bear trap that snapped shut and
killed that character.
Slowly, painfully, crushing his head.
Oh my god, it was so traumatizing.
Giving everyone in the room some fresh
Both Weston and Raysharth just left. We were like, nope, don't want any part of this.
Got the town guard called on her for...
Yeah, Yomlickballs, who was a town guard of this town, decided to blow the whistle on her. And get her captured. Yeah.
And it's funny because he's not even in the campaign, and neither is Weston.
Correct.
So, both of those characters are no longer with us.
Right. Well, it's mainly because that was my character, and it's really hard to play a character as a DM.
Yes, it can be.
It's so difficult.
It's just another more things for you to keep track of.
Correct.
You can do it. You can. It's a lot.
Having a DMPC, though, is very difficult.
Oh, having a likable DMPC.
A likable one, too, yeah. Because a lot of the times, the DMPC is just a way for them to self-insert into the story. And then they
want to play, too.
Yeah, they want to play, too, which is fine. But at the same time, then they make that character the focus. And then a lot of people don't like it.
So, with that being said, and this is like complete, honest, candid feedback right now, Stick, because I have... Well, I guess 3 DMPCs right now.
You do.
How do you think the way that I'm handling them? Could you describe how I'm trying to handle the woes of having a DMPC be too important, and how I'm managing it?
The way I've always viewed DMPCs is when you introduce them organically, so you allow them to exist in a pathway that the adventurers will cross. But you don't make the DMPC part of the story unless if the party wants to make them a part of the story.
Correct.
So, like with, what's one of the name of the ones that's in the tavern right now?
Flare.
Flare. So Flare was she a cleric?
Yes.
Yeah, so Flare the cleric is just chilling in a bar, and our party is allowed to ask her questions about this particular thing that we're doing. She's actually part of one of the parties. No, she's not part of that party.
Nah, she's hanging out with her friend doing some research in the town.
Right. She was sent up there to investigate some stuff, and we're allowed to ask her questions and things, and we can even hire her into our party to help. So it's a way for us to build rapport with the character without it just being like, hey, this character's joining your party, whether you like it or not.
Not only does the party have to want them to join, which, on the one hand, I mean, hey, who doesn't want an extra cleric in your party, right?
Right, especially since we don't have one.
Those extra buff spells, healing spells, and she's a light cleric, so extra fire damage, always helpful.
Always helpful.
On the other hand, in order for her to drop everything that she's currently doing and go help this random bunch of strangers that is asking for help, she would want some amount of fair payment.
Right.
And so the party has to fork over however much gold in order to get this person to join the party. Now, depending on how they treat her, she might stick around or she might leave. It just depends on how she is treated and what the initial terms of... But the point is, the party has to want...
Yeah, they have to want the character around. Especially if you treat a DMPC as an NPC first, and then if the party decides to keep them along, that's when you take control of them, like in combat scenarios. Or let the party decide, hey, would you like to try this for us? You know, in other scenarios. That's the way I've always liked DMPCs.
even better, sometimes players I've had players like my DMPC so much that they ask if they could take over them.
Yeah.
That makes me feel really good, because that means I'm writing fairly decent characters.
Right. Well, like the first time I tried a DMPC, which was Seraphina. That was a little bit interesting on that part, because Seraphina was a vampire that I introduced at a carnival, where
she was a villain.
Yeah, she was a pseudo villain essentially for a moment. But it turns out that after attempting to just drink some of the blood of one of the campaign or one of the party members, she fled off into the night because she didn't want to necessarily kill anybody. She just needed to feed, to live. And then the brilliance of one of our campaign people, one of the party people, decided to take her coffin with us.
Oh.
And for the uninitiated, if you take a vampire's coffin, the vampire is tied to that coffin.
It's like their respawn point.
It's basically their respawn point. So if they die, they come back to life in the coffin itself. And if the coffin is destroyed, the vampire is destroyed.
Correct.
So
I guess you could have multiple of them, but
correct.
She only had the one.
Correct. Yeah, she only had the one. So our party took it, and then she's like, "Hey, you still have my coffin? Can you put it somewhere safe so I just don't die?" Like I promise I'm not like murderous. So our party decided that they were going to try and take the coffin somewhere safe, which they still haven't done. They've been carrying that thing forever. Good grief.
But they recruited her.
But they essentially recruited her.
Literally became part of the party.
Right. So as I was about to take over her and create a character sheet for her as a DMPC, one of Wulfie's friends decided, "Hey, I'd like to join the campaign," and so she took over that character.
Correct.
Pretty good.
I
think she's wanting to abandon that character pretty soon, if I remember right.
So we've been playing this campaign for about a year.
Yeah.
Some of the players have been playing the same characters for a year, and
after a year, you get tired of the same person for a while.
Just depending on, and obviously, depending on how much you like your own character, and depending on how everyone else likes their characters.
How well the chemistry works and all that.
You can end a campaign either by ending it organically, like the story ends and therefore you have no reason to continue adventuring, or you can write someone out of the story in a more like, hey, my personal character arc has been fulfilled, and so I love you guys. I'm gonna miss you, but I'm staying here and I'm going to whatever life that I have.
Exactly.
Or you can just kill them off.
Yeah,
or they can die.
I don't want to get super spoilery, but a couple of our characters do want to exit, so we're trying to like write in different scenarios for them to be able to, for them to just exit organically, and then they would write up a new character and they join into the party. It's
correct.
It's not something where you have to make one character and stick with them for life.
Yeah, and the whole purpose of, it's a game. The whole purpose is to have fun.
To have fun.
So if you don't have fun playing your character, you can let your DM know, and if it's a good DM, they'll try and accommodate that.
Yeah.
I've had DMs who railroad me into playing a specific character for a really long time.
Yeah.
That's less helpful. But ultimately, the game is for hanging out with some friends, having some laughs, rolling some dice, getting mad at the dice because they never roll what you want them to.
Exactly.
Just generally having a great time, and that's why, like, for me, especially, it's a social thing. 100%, like 1000%, it's a social thing.
Yeah, like 99% of the game is just talking.
I play D&D to hang out with my friends, have some laughs, and tell some fun stories.
Yeah.
And then
make some dick jokes and whatnot along the way.
make some phallic innuendo.
So one of my, speaking of letting your letting it be more for fun. So I remember I joined one campaign, and this was still when I was pretty new to making characters, because before it was very much just, hey, make a concept for a character and I'll write up all your stats. And that was about the extent that I knew how to do character creation. So the very first time I did full character creation. What?
was gonna say that's a fine way of doing it if you're brand new.
If you're brand new, yeah. Well, that was the first time, because the two campaigns that I was a part of before the one I'm talking about they were both super homebrew. So he created the character sheet around what needed to be available for that campaign, basically.
I get you. All right.
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
Yeah. So the first time I did a legitimate, more structured D&D campaign, I created it was a gnome druid. I don't know why I like gnomes so much, but I tend to gravitate towards gnomes for some reason. Gnomes and dwarves.
Same voice for all of them too.
I possibly, I don't know. I just like that trope. I don't know. I like it. But so I created the character and I set up all its stats and everything like that. And we're going through the first day that we ran this campaign. And we're doing a couple encounters and things and kind of doing some fighting. And I realized I was doing nothing. Like, I felt like I was just doing terrible at everything. Because druids are basically, they're spellcasters. They do a lot of spells and things and a lot of abilities to do pretty much everything. They're not very good at combat. They're not good at swinging a sword. So, after the campaign, or after that session ended, I was looking over my sheet, and one of our fellow party members pointed out that I had overbuffed. I had thrown all of my points into intelligence rather than wisdom, which wisdom is how you buff up your spells as a druid. So I basically nerfed myself right out the gate. I think I threw my lowest amount of point, or like my second to lowest, into wisdom. So I had like a +1 to my wisdom. So my spell saves were not very good, and they beat a lot of my rolls. So not very fun.
I'm impressed because I've had a friend do the exact same thing.
Well, it's an easy thing to get wrong. I mean...
No. Scarily, the exact same thing. He was playing a gnome druid, and he wanted to... I mean, he was like, hey, how come none of my spells are landing? And we look at his character sheet, and I go, oh, dude, you've put all your points into intelligence instead of wisdom.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm not like remembering it incorrectly and thinking that it was about you, because I know the friend I hung out with him.
It was not this friend group, no.
Completely different guy who did the exact same error, which is pretty funny. Boy, if I had a nickel.
I feel like that's a rite of passage, though. You get your stats wrong, and you're like, whoops.
Oh yeah. Well,
spellcasters are weird because some work off of intelligence, some work off of wisdom.
And some of them work off of charisma.
And some work off charisma, which is what the fuck.
It's unique to, well, I guess unique. It's different based on your class, and so you really gotta read those
fine prints and
between the lines.
Yeah, and everything was made through I forget the website, the big website that everybody uses.
D&D Beyond.
Beyond, yeah. So it was a sort of walkthrough style creation, but it never told me, or if it did, I didn't realize that it was, hey, put your points in wisdom because that's what your spell save is based off of. But anyways, long story short, we wrote up the character basically going into a mushroom-filled adventure. We'll put it that way.
Drugs.
Yeah, he basically took a lot of drugs and realized that his street smarts needed to be smarter, and they allowed me to flip the stats. The DM allowed me to flip stats, so
that's good because playing an ineffective druid would not be a lot of fun.
No, it was not, and it was unfortunate because I was just sitting there like, what is happening? I don't know why I'm not doing anything.
Right. Character creation is a huge part of Dungeons and Dragons.
It is,
and a good DM will help walk you through what your character sheet means and your role. Spellcasters are always a fun case because they're
kind of the black sheep of the family.
I mean, they're just more complicated.
Well, yeah, they are more complicated.
There are more classes that have spells than those without them. So no, I would actually say the classes without spells are the black
Oh
sheep.
man, do we want to become like a D&D channel where we teach people how to play? No, I don't know about that. There's too many of those.
How many video topics do you think we can?
That would be so many.
Yeah, possibly during some live stream stuff then.
Maybe. What I would love to do eventually is actually have our D&D sessions be like this, but a very trimmed down version.
Oh, I don't know if
it would be very difficult.
We'd have to get everyone else on board for that.
I don't think it would be the hardest thing to get everyone on board, but it would be really difficult to coordinate that to where it felt like it was a recorded session.
Right.
You know, so that way we don't have people running off to walk their dog or go to the liquor store.
Critical Role we not be.
We are yet no.
Matt Mercer, I am not.
I have mad props for Matt Mercer though. I mean, like, the dude's a genius.
Mad Mercer.
Mercer.
This topic, like our rant has gone completely off topic. We're just talking about voice actors that we like.
Oh yeah, that's true. Voice actors. Oh man.
All right. I think that's a good enough place to call it, and we can take a break right about here.
Yeah, sure. But any final thoughts before we?
I don't know. I'm probably gonna. I mean, there's a part of me that wants to continue playing Helldivers 2. There's a part of me that wants to go to bed.
You are obsessed with that game.
I love that game.
Oh my god. Maybe we can talk about the game a different time.
Play it on live stream.
All right.
Something like that. But yeah, we'll catch you guys. Let us know how these like kind of
if you like this kind of chit chat, we'll do it more. If you have topics you want us to talk about,
everyone says shut up and play the video games.
Play the video game.
Take that to heart.
Yeah.
I'll take that to my grave.
But yeah. All right. Well, we are going to take a break.
Yeah. So we will see you guys in the next video.
Okay.
Bye for now.
Goodbye.